What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro. Welcome back. So we are back with another content. On this video, we are going to tackle the top 5 best budget decks to play in this February 2024 OCG metagame format. The theme of our video today is the Fallen Ashes of a Fury format. So these are the remnants that you can work on and play in a budget note on the very fire-oriented format that we currently have. Format where it is dominated by Fire King, Snake Eyes, and Rescue Ace, and the likes of Salamangreat and Infernoid. All of those fire attribute based decks that are reigning supreme right now on the format can be answered by these decks. So without further ado, let's start. But at first, we're going to assimilate what budget deck is for our unfamiliar viewers and first timers on our channel here. So budget decks are decks that don't have the same monetary value as the top tier meta decks and expensive decks on the format. So it doesn't really come close. The budget of Fire King, for example, are very far-fetched from the budget that we are going to cover here on this video. And also decks that are easily built with cheap cards on the market, so you can just buy cheap cards and build these decks on our top 5 here. And also decks that are somehow tailored to fit within a certain budget. So we are now working with a $100 budget on this video. So the decks here are always below $100, but short disclaimer, the prices of OCG products varies from country to country, from economy to economy. It really differs a lot, but the price basis of our cards here are on UUT from the Japanese market. So we could safely assume that these products are $100 below if we're going to base on the UUT pricing. And at the same time, these decks are good budget decks that can fare despite being budget. So despite being budget, despite being low cost, these decks can somehow manage to battle against the format right now, and also low cost but has good to high efficiency. So even though we are working on a very low budget on these decks can have good to high efficiency as well. So moving on towards our top 5, we have Brigade Pure on this video. So for my avid viewers, you already know that I am a huge Brigade fan, and this is my signature deck for a very long time now, since 2021, and I can really vouch for this deck on this video. So we are now proceeding towards the Brigade sample deck list that is provided here. But disclaimer once again, the deck list provided here are by no means the standard version of the decks that are going to cover, because the decks here or the deck list are tailored to my preferences and deck building tendencies. So it is not absolute at any cost. So you can just mix and match other cards here if you would like to edit the deck list. And also these decks are not really standardized, as I said earlier. So you can just use these decks as preferences only for deck building. So without further ado, let's move towards the strength of the deck. So Brigade has high consistency. It is one of the most notable strengths of the deck, because you have 3 Fractal, 3 Tenki, and 3 Rescue Cat, and also you have things like Keras and Kit with Nerval that you can draw to start any kinds of combo on this deck, to be honest. And the boards will usually end up on Apollousa with Revolt. Most of the time, 3 negate Apollousa and 1 Revolt. It is pretty sufficient enough to have a decent board when going first. And also, you have a spacey main deck. So look at this deck list. You have 3 Ash, 3 Maxi, 3 Nibiru, 3 Veiler, and 3 Imperm. So you have 15 hand traps that you can work around on this deck. So it is one of the major advantages of a mid-range deck like Brigade. You have a lot of tools to answer the format. Whether you lose the die roll, you can have answers to stop and mitigate the damages of the decks that are being played right now in the format. So yeah, it is really up in the air if you can draw those hand traps against them, but it will be really beneficial if you can stop them from playing the game using the Wailers and Imperms and Nibiru to stop them at their choke points. And also, Tri-Brigade can be improved drastically with further investment. So you can do things like Fire King Tri-Brigade if you must, and also Horus Sprite Tri-Brigade can also be a very powerful option right now in the format. So you can pretty much upgrade the whole deck into a whole new level of Tri-Brigade. So it is one of the best attributes as well of this deck, because it is a very good investment, because you can start it at a budget manner on Pure Tri-Brigade, and you can just upgrade it later if you have extra money to fund your investment on this game. So you can pretty much upgrade everything on the deck and make it more powerful than ever. And also, weaknesses of Tri-Brigade are it is power creep already. Gone are the days that Tri-Brigade is the best deck of the 2021 format before, along with Virtual World, Eldritch, and other stuff on the metagame back then on 2021. Now it is very different. Yu-Gi-Oh has been so much different on the last couple of years. It is pretty much evolved and much more fast tempo oriented. So the Tri-Brigade has been power creep to a certain degree. Sad to say, it is bound to happen because this is a card game. Of course, it will likely be a power creeping mechanic to overcome the past best decks. But now, I still think that Tri-Brigade is a very decent deck to play, especially in a budget manner. And also, one glaring weakness of Tri-Brigade is the deck is not forgiving. It will really never have some room for errors, no? You have to make your plays perfectly as possible on this Tri-Brigade. One mistake on your gameplay can really cost you the match. That's where the problem of Tri-Brigade comes from. That's why it is only ranked 5th on our video for today, because the deck is not really easy to use. It needs to be mastered on a certain degree, because I'm playing Tri-Brigade for 2 years already, 2 years and a half, no? And it's been really rough because I'm still learning things that I should have learned back then on picking up this deck. So also it can be a positive attribute as well, where you can evolve and polish your skills using this deck on the long term. And yeah, moving on, we have on top 4, we have Altergeist. So another staple deck for a very long time, since 2018, 2019 if I'm not mistaken. Altergeist has been a decent deck on the format, and it saw representations as well on the World Championship before. But moving on the strengths of Altergeist, Altergeist has one of the best grind games in the game. So you can never outgrind Altergeist. In my own experience, I have used grindy decks like Eldritch and other stuff against this deck before, and I cannot outgrind the grind game of Altergeist. Especially Altergeist has been better than ever because they have their support from the Duelist Nexus before, and the deck got upgraded, and also it's so much better because it can combo off now and has higher ceiling than before. And also Altergeist can play around floodgates. So looking on our list, we have 3 anti-spell and 3 summon limit and 1 skill drain. So you can pretty much play around these floodgates yourself, and also you can also benefit from playing these floodgates, especially anti-spell and summon limit are much more coveted right now on the format, because these 2 floodgates can literally stop anything on the very best meta decks on the format right now. 1 anti-spell can shut down the Fire King, and also summon limit can be a huge discrepancy on stopping the combo decks on the format right now, like Snake Eyes. So you can capitalize on playing this type of floodgates to shift the momentum of the game towards you. And also, playing Altergeist can be very rewarding. What I mean about that is, it is very rewarding in a sense of when you make the correct plays, you don't misplay, you use your interruptions in a perfect sense, and also your timings are immaculate. I think it will be very rewarding because the interruptions of Altergeist is not that many, to be honest, but you need to carefully use those interruptions in the perfect moment so that you can gain massive advantages and overwhelm your opponent by your sheer control on this Altergeist. So moving on towards the weaknesses of the Altergeist, Altergeist has lackadaisical going second. Sad to say, it is one of the glaring problems of control decks. You lose bad when you lose the die roll as well, and it is very evident because you have a lot of trap cards on the deck that are not very good when going second. So you will struggle definitely when you lose the die roll, and you will find hard to break the boards of your opponent using this Altergeist. And also fast-paced decks can out-tempo you easily. So like I've said earlier, the Yu-Gi-Oh is much more faster now than before. So faster decks can really out-tempo you and leave you to dust on this Altergeist because it is relatively slow. I cannot lie about that fact. These Altergeist can be very slow on certain occasions. So you need to keep up on using this Altergeist against the best decks right now in the format. Especially Fire Kings and Snake Eyes are really high tempo decks on the format that can really outburst and out tempo you anytime and anywhere. So yeah, that's the problem of Altergeist. But I still think that when you consider the fact that the core of Altergeist is very cheap, and also the floodgates as well can be very cheap as well, you are having a great time on building a very budget deck that can compete and have a chance against the format right now. And moving on towards the top 3, we have Metabat. So this is the good old Metabat, and budget deck lists are incomplete without Metabat, to be honest, because it is one of the most budget decks ever. Since the beginning of time, Metabat has been a very budget deck, and it is a go-to deck by many people who cannot afford the meta-relevant decks and the expensive decks on the format. So Metabat is a staple deck for those people who wants to just keep up playing competitively. So moving on, we have the strengths of Metabat. So it is a nightmare matchup to the meta decks. So from the name itself, Metabat, it is objectively used to beat the meta decks on the format, and that's where the niche of this deck comes from. It is by catering cards that can answer the very best decks on the format on this Yu-Gi-Oh. So also Metabat is very easy to use. The deck is very linear. Your plays are oriented into normal summon only, like normal summoning the border and the patchy to stun the opponent, and also setting cards like Solemn Judgment, and also drawing cards like Demise and Duality can boost the consistency of the deck. So overall, it is very easy to use, and it is a very notable trait on Yu-Gi-Oh because the less time that you misplay is the time that you get rewarded from your efficiency on this game. And I think it's a very good aspect of picking a deck where you can just play perfectly and don't overthink things on Yu-Gi-Oh because it is already a complicated game. So why not why make it more complicated, no? So just play whatever you like, and the simplest deck can be effective as well, like this Metabat. And also the Metabat has outstanding going first capability. So looking on our deck list, it is very notable that this deck can strive when going first with border and patchy, and the barrier statue of water can literally stun anything on the format right now because we don't have water decks on the format. So water barrier statue can definitely seal the game, and patchy and border being them are very notorious cards for stunning the game state on this Yu-Gi-Oh format right now. And also paired with cards like Solemn Judgment and Dogmatica Punishment and Mirror Force, those can be very irritating to play against, especially you are sitting on a border and patchy just to win the game. So yeah, I think it is very outstanding and very efficient when it can go first. And also, moving towards the weaknesses of our Metabat, it is very linear to an extent that your plays are very telegraphic, no? Your plays are very predictable, and it is really what do you call this, very linear on a really high note, no? And I think it's one of the most glaring weakness of Metabat because your opponents can just predict what are you going to do on this deck, and it is also it can also lose against linear stuff like Harpy's Feather Duster and also Heavy Storm. All of those cards that are very efficient against you and can counter your strategy. And also, Metabat can struggle with popular board breakers on the side deck in this format. So, things like Heavy Storm, Lightning Storm, and Feather Duster and Evenly Match can really cripple the deck. And it is very worrying that your deck instantly loses to those kind of cards, no? Because you don't have really good follow-ups on this deck. You just have draw power and boss monsters that can sit around on the game like Border and Patchy, and that's pretty much about it. If you get blasted by Lightning Storm or Raigeki, even Raigeki can literally shut down your whole strategy and lose from that moment. So yeah, it's very hard to play this deck on high tier events because most side decks are pretty much prepared against this type of decks, especially in the Philippines metagame landscape where people are really prepared against control and Metabat decks because this kind of decks are very popular in the Philippines for a very long time now. So yeah, moving on. We have the new archetype from the LEDE or Legacy of Destruction, the Goldsarcophagus. Imagine that the box of Yugi has been an archetype now this 2024. I think it's a long-awaited resurgence from Yugi fans on this 2024. Many people have been really excited around this archetype, and I'm really glad that they made it good at the very least. So moving on, we have Goldsarcophagus. So this is a fairly new deck on our format because it just came from LEDE. So it is really new to us, and most people doesn't know the interactions and the effects of these cards right now. So this is the sample deck list of Goldsarcophagus. I'm not really 100% confident on delivering this deck list because I have few references and samples to look at, but I did my best to cater a deck that is tailored to our $100 budget and can be very competitive right now on the format. So yeah, moving on towards the strengths, we have the consistent setup of interruptions. So this deck has everything: negations, protections, and interruptions. It has almost everything that can give you advantages to succeed on the format right now, especially on the modern game where negations and protections are very essential on this mechanic. And also, access to Shifter and Fissure are very evident on this deck, especially the format is graveyard centric right now. Fire King, Snake Eyes, all of those stuff are very graveyard reliant right now. So Shifter and Fissure can literally seal the game the moment that you have drawn these cards, and it is very advantageous. All of those decks that are running Shifter and Fissure can have a decent chance of success right now in the format, like Fluandris, for example, and Exosister. Those type of decks that can literally shut down the graveyard has a very nice chance on beating the top tier meta decks right now in the format. And also, this deck has tons of draw power to make the deck more consistent. So looking on our list, we have 3 Extravagance, 2 Desires, 1 Prosperity. So you have all of the possible pot cards on the deck to make the deck more consistent, no? So you will not suffer from consistency, and also you do have a lot of starters as well on this list. So I think you will not really struggle on consistency issues. But yeah, moving on towards the weaknesses, this deck can struggle on closing out games. So you have low attack monsters on this list, and you don't have really high attack boss monsters that can seal the game on this deck, and you don't really patronize your extra deck as well. So you will kinda find hard to close out games faster on this list, and you will be put in a tough situation if you cannot close out decks that can grind you out and also has good recovery as well. So that's the biggest weakness for me of this Goldsarcophagus right now. They don't have really good damage output to seal the game, and also underwhelming going second is a very bad issue of Goldsarcophagus because your deck caters around interruptions and negations, and protection. So you don't really have tools to board break on this list. That's why I have opted to aside Nibiru and Book of Eclipse on this list, just to have answers and general cards that can be good on the board breaking capacity of this deck. But on the contrary, you have things like Fissure, and on the side deck you have Summon Limit, and there can be only one. Those floodgates can salvage you the games where you go first and just win the game from just drawing those floodgates and setting up your board on this deck. So yeah, moving on towards the number 1 on our list, we have my budget Voiceless Voice deck profile. It's been a very what do you call this, controversial deck right now on the OCG, because most people are not accustomed to playing budget Voiceless Voice, because most deck lists are playing Nadir Servant, Vicious Garura, and very expensive as well, and also Diviner are very expensive right now on the OCG. So it is very controversial that you play budget Voiceless Voice without those Nadirs and Diviners on the deck. But I found success on the recent Blackluster Normal Monster 2 tournament in the Philippines recently, January 20, if I'm not mistaken, no? I have played budget Voiceless Voice on that tournament, and I went 5-2 on record, and I placed 11th out of 110 participants using budget Voiceless Voice. And this is pretty much the improved version of the Voiceless Voice, because it now has the support from Lede, the new continuous spell. So moving on towards the strengths of our Voiceless Voice, budget Voiceless Voice deck list, one of the very best decks currently. So it is not an argument right now that Voiceless Voice is one of the best top tier meta decks on the format that you can play right now, and it is very relative to the success of Voiceless Voice because it has higher representations on Road of the King and other metagame results. So the numbers don't lie. It is one of the best decks right now in the format. It is just you are playing it on a budget manner this time. And also, Voiceless Voice has a powerful going first output. You have the Sauravis that can negate the summon of your opponent. And also, you have Omni Negate from the Skull Guardian. And also, you have protection from it as well from targeting effects. So, it is very worth noting that the going first of your Voiceless Voice is very above average or very decent at the very least, and it can really help you navigate things on a format where there's a lot of variety on the format, aside from the two best decks on the Snake Eyes and Fire King, and as well as Voiceless Voice. The tier 2 to tier 3 metagame are pretty much diverse, so having Omni Negate that can really stop the choke points of decks that you have knowledge for are very essential towards your success right now. And also, the deck can be built extremely cheap and will still have a decent showcasing. So you can remove stuff like Imperm and Ash on this list. You can main deck Summon Limit and Forbidden Droplet, for example, and you can still make the deck work on that note. And it is really good as well because you now have a top tier meta deck on a bowling budget note that you can play and have success on the format. And it is really nice from Konami OCG that they have made this deck quite easy and cheap to build because of the low rarity cards on the deck list of Voiceless Voice. But I couldn't say the same for the TCG because I have seen the prices of pre-orders of Voiceless Voice cards skyrocket up on the pre-sales. So yeah, but on our OCG, it is pretty much budget, and I hope this list of budget Voiceless Voice can be a good reference for our TCG friends that they can build upon and have a good foundation for it. And also, moving towards the weaknesses of Voiceless Voice, everyone has targets on you. It is no surprise that most people are defiant on dealing and beating the Voiceless Voice right now, because why not, no? It is one of the most popular decks right now in the format, and most people have picked up the deck because it is relatively much budget than things like Fire King and Snake Eyes, for example, that has Bonfire, which are very expensive right now, worth of grocery already. So yeah, why not pick the second or third best deck, no, and just build from that. So most people are playing budget voiceless voice right now with Nadirs and Diviner. So I think most people are pretty much prepared against you, and I think you will have problems on that because their side deck are catered to answer you, and their main deck options can also be very effective against you. Something like Droll can easily end your turn, and one good timing of Ash Blossom and Infinite Impermanence and Vader can halt your strategy. So I think you will be put in a very dire situation if you expect that people will not prepare against you. It will be very different from your expectations because most people are gunning to beat the voiceless voice because it is very represented right now. And also, playing it on a budget list like this have a good chances of breaking. So it has chunks of bricks on this list. I have a brick 2-3 times on the Blackluster normal monster tournament before, and it is very bad feeling for me because I wish I could have bought Diviners or Nadirs to improve my consistency. But yeah, I think it's still manageable to some extent because you lose consistency because you don't play Diviners and Nadirs, but on the trade-off of that, you have more utility cards on the deck like Extravagance to give you draw power, and also the plethora of hand traps that you have here like 3 Veilers, 3 Drolls, and 3 Imperms can be very handy when you lose the die roll. So it's just a matter of trade-off where you lose consistency and trade-off utility and resiliency for this deck. So yeah, I think playing it on budget is very nice as well because like I've said earlier, you have a top tier deck on your hands with a small budget only, and I think it's a very good starting point for you to venture competitive Yu-Gi-Oh because you can just upgrade anytime when you can find money to upgrade your voiceless voice to buy the Diviners and the Garura package from the Nadir. So yeah, I think it's very worth investing at. So yeah, I think that sums up our video for today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you do learn something from this video, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel because I am needing 1k subs so that I can get monetized and buy my Diviners, please. So yeah, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.